This is Impractical Jokers, a show that broke onto the scene in 2011 with an authentic new take on comedy TV. The premise is simple. 4 friends compete in different challenges, usually tied to embarrassment, persuasion, and laughter. Plenty of laughter. And while the show's premise is simple, the path to get there was much more complex. It all started in 1990 during their freshman year of high school when the guys met in religion class. Since they went to an all-boys high school, the guys joined the improv club as a way to meet girls. It was here that they began honing their skills in comedy and performance. After high school, the guys went their separate ways, each pursuing different paths in college. When they got out of college, Joe worked as a consultant for Accenture, Sal was a business systems analyst, Q supposedly worked at Blockbuster, and Murr created this masterpiece.
Making Murr tonight's big loser.
By around 2005, the guys were in their more established careers. Q as a firefighter for the New York City Fire Department, Murr working for a TV production company, Sal as a bartender while doing stand-up comedy on the side, and Joe as a salesman in order to pay the bills while he spent a brief stint in LA trying to make a name for himself as a screenwriter. And during all that, the guys were also working on a group side project. When they got out of college, Sal, Murr, Joe, and Mike Baccio, another friend from their high school improv club, started practicing improv 3 times a week in Joe's mom's basement. And in 1999, the Tenderloins comedy troupe began performing live improv and sketch comedy in their local area. From then to 2006, the Tenderloins did live shows, and while achieving moderate success, the real breakthrough would occur when the group switched to online comedic sketches, a transition that would see the departure of Mike Baccio, opening a spot for the one and only Brian Quinn. The Tenderloin sketches racked up millions of views, and in 2007 they topped off their online success by winning the $100,000 grand prize of NBC's web competition, It's Your Show, with their sketch Time Thugs.
It's that easy!
From there, Impractical Jokers was pitched and it became an overnight success. Not quite. The first attempt at a Tenderloins TV series was an improv comedy show that Murr had successfully pitched to A&E in 2005, but it never went to series. In 2008, the guys sold a sketch comedy show about their lives to Spike TV, who greenlighted a pilot episode, but not a series. Finally, the guys came up with the idea of an upside-down hidden camera show, with the goal of embarrassing each other rather than the traditional hidden camera prank show, where the stranger is usually the butt of the joke. The group filmed a sizzle reel on an iPhone and pitched the idea. They eventually had 2 networks vying for the rights to the show, the first being one of the most mainstream networks at the time, MTV, known for its major reality shows like Jersey Shore and Teen Mom. And the second network was much smaller and trying to branch away from its roots in court TV and more drama-heavy shows. There was one problem though.
MTV wanted the show, but not us. They wanted to recast it with younger kids, whatever, and make it like a 5-day-a-week game show.
And successful game shows are widely considered to be the holy grail of TV production that can make a ton of money. So for the guys,
it was a real debate. Like, do we just sell this to them and keep our lives?
Well, as we all know, they took the gamble and went with True TV. The show was originally slated to be called Mission Uncomfortable before deciding on the name Impractical Jokers. At the time, Murr was the head of development at North South Productions, who has produced the show since its inception. This gave Murr a unique perspective on how improbable a successful show really is.
Most shows don't sell, then most shows that get a pilot order don't go to series, and most shows that get a season order don't go to season 2 or 3. Like 99% of shows just don't make it.
But Impractical Jokers wasn't like 99% of shows. The first episode of Impractical Jokers premiered on December 15th, 2011, and the show began building a pretty dedicated fan base. Even though season 1 of the show felt more like a punchline compilation than a typical Impractical Jokers episode, it was still absolutely hilarious, and there was plenty of untapped potential. Fortunately, True TV made the right choice and renewed the series for a second season. But even after the show was renewed, there was still some uncertainty about whether or not to put all their eggs in one basket. Sal was now the co-owner of a bar in Staten Island, Q was still working nights at the fire department, and Murr was still creating and selling other TV shows. Although, I can only imagine North South Productions cut him some slack. Joe, on the other hand, was basically forced to quit his job before filming season 1, so he ended up getting more involved in the production side of things from the start. But it was only a matter of time before the Jokers went all in.
After the second season, I think we all took this leap of faith.
And from there, the show really found its footing.
What if we make the goal you can't laugh? Or what if we team up? Or like all these little innovations. And every time that worked. And that was when we're like, oh, okay, as long as we do that,
And that's exactly what they did. New challenges, bigger punishments, better production quality, but always the same at its core.
Every joke in our show works 5 times.
Right now?
First, the guy in the back says it through the microphone.
Let's see you do this.
Turn to the bride and ask her,
What style was your first wedding dress?
Then you cut to the guy in the field that has to think about, can I do this? Then he decides to do it or not.
Now this one's flowy.
Fourth is the people in the back laughing. And the fifth is how the mark reacts to that moment as well.
The show soon took over True TV, and nowadays if you turn on True TV, you expect to see Impractical Jokers. It's as synonymous with the network as Mickey Mouse is with Disney. And to give True TV credit,
they said to us years ago, if you go with us, we'll make you guys the face of the network. And they were true to their word, man.
and with the success of Impractical Jokers came spin-offs and other endeavors, like Impractical Jokers Inside Jokes, After Party, Dinner Party, and Jokers Wild, a failed spin-off where the guys filmed sketch comedy style skits. On top of that, the Jokers hosted a game show on TBS, The Misery Index, for 3 seasons, and entire cruises. They also released a mobile game called Wheel of Doom, and party games Impractical Jokers Box of Challenges and the Ultimate Challenge Pack. The Jokers also started touring as a live show, throwing it back to their roots as the Tenderloins. The live shows were extremely successful, and it was a good reminder to them just how much their fan base was growing.
Because the tour quickly went from comedy clubs to, within a year, we were doing small theaters.
Yeah.
It felt like every 6 months our lives were changing. Then it felt like every 3 months our lives were changing. And then on a monthly basis, something different was, I was like, oh my God.
And in 2020, the guys released Impractical Jokers the movie, which received mixed reviews. The gripes mainly due to the plot being pretty weak and pointless. Although the movie was considered a box office success, and outside of the scripted scenes, the movie was still authentic to the Jokers brand. It seemed like everything was only getting better for the Jokers, but things took a sad turn when Joe announced he was leaving the show. On December 31st, 2021, Joe posted to his Instagram that he will no longer be involved with Impractical Jokers, citing his split with his wife and needing to focus on being the best father possible as his reason for leaving. It's important to emphasize that Joe's departure was not in bad blood, and he's still close with Murr, Sal, and Q. He regularly appears on podcasts alongside the other guys and crashes their live shows, and you can tell that nothing has been lost in their friendship because of his departure. But obviously, there were some questions about whether or not the show would continue without Joe.
We started to film and we're like, all right, let's see how this is going to be. Like, I don't know if it's going to be, gloomy. Of course, we miss him,
Yeah.
But then, you start laughing and you're like, oh shit, I'm laughing. I had fun today.
Right.
And then you're like, all right, we're still laughing. We're still having fun.
And there was also uncertainty around potentially replacing Joe, as well as plenty of fans who felt like something was missing. But honestly, I think most people, including myself, still love the show, even without somebody as iconic as Joe. And it's not like Joe fell off the face of the earth. He hosts a podcast with Steve Byrne called Two Cool Moms, and performs on a solo comedy tour. The other Jokers also dabble in their own endeavors. Murr has written a couple of book series and also does a solo stand-up tour. Q has written a graphic novel, hosted the podcast Tell 'em Steve Dave with Walt Flanagan and Brian Johnson since 2010, and revived a Staten Island brewery, R&H Beer, in 2019, which I believe has since closed down. Sal also does a stand-up comedy tour as well as a pair of podcasts, Hey Babe with Chris DiStefano and Taste Buds with Joe DeRosa. And while the success of Impractical Jokers has springboarded the Jokers' individual careers, that success wasn't just a stroke of luck for 4 guys. This isn't just 4 random comedians trying to embarrass each other on camera. It's 4 lifelong friends with decades of improv and sketch comedy experience, a production team of more than 60 people, months of prep with comedy writers and producers, a daily production cost around $250,000, all for the best 5 to 10 minutes of each day to be packed into an episode for our enjoyment. But on top of all that, it comes down to the guys themselves. It's so rare for people on TV to come across as relatable and authentic. That's exactly what the Jokers do. They just seem like some average Joes. But there's nothing average about what they've created. It takes a special group of people with a one-of-a-kind chemistry and each bringing their own unique talents to create the best show on television.